Hello, and welcome to Speak Up for Our Planet. All the recordings you find on this channel are of specific environmental topics. The speakers illustrate and explain their subject and are open to questions from the audience. If you'd like to join us live, please visit our website and click Join Us. Hope to see you soon.
That we have Mojca Zupan here with us. I was listening to the radio and I was scrolling, as you do, on Instagram, and I saw this thing that said it would remove microplastics from the washing. And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. I know about this from previous Speak Up talks. And so I followed up with Mojca and her team. And she very kindly said, yes, she'd come and do a talk for us. And here she is. She's the founder, the chief executive, and openly is the heart and soul of PlanetCare, which I think is lovely to hear. She has a great deal of passion for a cleaner environment. And when she saw and heard about microplastics, it was really important to her. She has children. She's saying, well, hang on a minute, this just isn't right. We need to do something about this. And although she was a corporate lawyer in her past life, she said, no, we've got to do something. All this litter, all this plastic. No, I don't want this for my kids. So she founded the idea of removing the microplastics, and that's how PlanetCare came up with the idea of filters. She's going to tell you all about what they are, but also give you a little bit of background about just reminding us why it's so important, and also tell you a little bit about the business and where she sees that all going in the future. So please, if you've got questions, and she'd love to your questions, so do please ask them. Do put it in the chat. But otherwise, I will hand over to Mojca, who is going to tell us about PlanetCare.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you for having me. Is it okay with my audio? Is everything fine in the video?
Yeah.
Disclaimer and apology. I'm on my phone, not laptop, because I'm traveling and I forgot my laptop. So hopefully everything goes well. So going back to thanking Rosie and Jane for having me and to be able to actually speak up for our planet, which is what I have been doing now for a very long time. Rosie will kindly share the slides, and she will have a bit of a laugh every time I will say next slide, please, she told me. So yes, love for the oceans. This is us. This is actually our own photo for like most of the photos, the pictures in the slides are actually from our lab. So they're not from, I don't know, iStock or something like that. And this is the actual filter, yes and no filter. This is the campaign we did with Gap Jeans in the Netherlands, actually. And that's just the intro. So next slide, please. So I don't know if you've heard about Sylvia Earle, but I have met this wonderful lady. She's well in her 90s. She's an oceanographer. She still dives every day. And I met her once at the event, and she said, no water, no life, no blue, no green, which is true. We all think microplastics in the oceans are a problem of turtles and whales and maybe fishes, but it's really not true, because, the ocean equals life to all of us. And without the blue and without the green, there's also no us. So simply by doing your laundry, you throw a plastic bag into the ocean every week. I'm just going to say this because once you know, you cannot unknow. And I think it's important. And I think the problem has been under the radar for a really long time. And if people only knew about it, I think we would have more solutions, and we would actually have inbuilt filters in the washing machine also. Also, this lovely photo here is from a British artist from Brighton, from Lou McCurdy. And she also did this wonderful setup and this wonderful piece of art for PlanetCare. So we commissioned her. Next slide, please. Today, 60% of clothes are made of plastic. And people don't realize really that polyester, acrylic, nylon, that this is actually plastic. When I talk to ordinary people, they think plastic is something something hard, the bottle is made of, but people rarely connect plastics with clothes. And it's true, more and more of our clothes are made of synthetics. And when I had small children, I was really, really trying hard to find all natural clothing for them. And it was always impossible. There was always 5% of something in it, just for the stretch and for the convenience, and because it's simply cheaper. And when you wash mixed or plastic fibers, of course, you shed millions of tiny microplastics into our world water supply. They leave your drain. Approximately, we have calculated this, our chief scientist did, approximately 1 gram per average domestic wash load. So that's why I say a plastic bag a week, because it's roughly 3 to 4 grams, considering the amount of washing we do in Europe, at least. So fibers are one of 30% of all microplastics found in our oceans are actually microfibers coming from your washing machines. People don't know this. It's one of the largest sources of microplastics out there. So we have paints. If you look at there's the EU environment source here, but there's a CNN study from Switzerland also referring to this. And there's paints, tires, pellets, and then there's textiles already. So it's a huge problem, and it's a preventable one. Before we will solve the tires, it's going to take a while, because there's really no feasible solution yet how to prevent the debris from the tires entering our waters. But there is a very clear path and a very clear stopgap where we could prevent microfibers from washing. And I think the only reason we don't do that is because not enough people are aware of the problem. Next slide, please. So now, why are fibers a particularly persistent or important issue? Because fibers are like cut off spaghetti. They are highly mobile. So ocean currents take them everywhere, to places like far from human settlements, the Arctic or the Mariana Trench. And then, the marine organisms eat them, they bind toxins, and they end up on your plate. And I love the photo. If you just see the water flea here, that's also our water flea from our lab. And it's a picture taken from Andre, and you will see a piece of a red sweater or a red t-shirt in her intestines if you look closely. So this little water flea had a piece of your sweater for lunch. And this is basically a very illustrative way of how it ends up on your plate, and what happens with these fibers actually. So all environmental samples, everywhere they go and look, they find them. As I said, they found them in the stomach of a crab in the Mariana Trench, which is 11 kilometers deep in the ocean. So that was a crab 11 kilometers deep in the ocean, and his intestine, that was a fiber. So just to show you how really mobile they are and how they are everywhere we look. Next slide, please. So as I said, 60% of clothes today are made of fabric, of synthetics. And sadly, next year is going to be more and more and more. So every year we scream about plastic being dangerous for the environment, dangerous for us, but every year we just produce and consume more. So, and with washing, we release it into the environment. As we saw the water flea, the food chain, it ends up on our plates and it ends up on our bodies. They have been found in human placenta, human blood, human brains, basically in every organ. They went looking for them, they found them. And there's also very solid research already to how damaging they are to our hearts. There's the cardiac events from the patients that that had cardiac arrests, and they have screened the arteries, and the ones that had also microplastics in the debris were far more likely to have fatal strokes and cardiac arrest than the ones who had no plastics in the debris in their arteries. That was actually the British. I can list all the research at the end. If anyone's interested, I will mail it to the research I'm referring to. I can mail it to Rosie and then Jane, and they can share it with you. It's actually the British Medical Journal, this one that from last year, this one that I was mentioning. So, and there's a large Brazilian study linking microplastics in brain, because they can actually cross the blood-brain barrier, and there's great research being done on a very large sample that it causes dementia. So I would say they're definitely not good for us. We should definitely not have them in our tissue. Plastic themselves, but then again, they bind toxins, and yeah, that's even worse then. Next slide, please. So why do we have a picture of a catalytic converter on my slide, you would say? Because I always say, I have been doing this for 8 years, and I think it's a great comparison, because if we can have, okay, now we have mostly electric cars, and we're going that way, but cars used to have catalytic converters. And I think just as cars had catalytic converters, every washing machine should come with a filter inside. It's simply because of environmental reasons, just like the catalytic converter. The car doesn't need one to run it, but the environment needs one. And it's the same with the machine. Machine can run without, but it shouldn't. So my mission, I started because I was a corporate lawyer, obviously. I thought we would come up with a wonderful solution that we are going to offer to the washing machine producers to be built into the washing machines, right? So I very enthusiastically went door to door from one to another. I must say I got a meeting with the board with most of them. So they were interesting. I cannot say they were not interested, because, I did get some high profile people from the industry to listen to me, but nobody really was going to do something about it. They were interesting. They knew that maybe someday regulation is going to happen. So, they knew that, at some point they're going to need a solution, but not before regulation. They made it very clear to me and to everyone else that ahead of regulation, they're not going to put filters in. So what was I to do? I was quite stubborn. I still am quite persistent. And if you have 3 teenage kids, then you get this way. It's just a matter of life. And I said to myself, okay, if they're not going to listen to us and they're not going to build it in, then let's do a retrofitting device just to show them that there is market for it, just to show that there is solution. Because you can, like you said at the beginning, you can scream about the problem and, you can be NGO about it, but we were a business and we had to present a solution. If I wanted governments to regulate and mandate filters, I needed to show that it's actually feasible, that it's doable. I needed to have an MVP. So we did it that way. We designed a retrofitting device that you put, near your washing machine, on your washing machine, on the floor, in the cupboard near. It doesn't really matter. You can put it a meter away from the machine, and it sits there. We put a cartridge in, we made it closed loop, and we were called actually by the French government, by Brune Poisson. She was the secretary then. She was in charge of this anti-waste law that passed 2025. And in Article 9, they were actually also mentioning washing machine filters. Unfortunately, since there was no real standardization behind this law is still on paper, but it's not really being executed. So it's not live. It's just this article basically is a letter on paper, and at the moment nothing's being done about it, except that Europe is moving on standardization and trying to regulate this on their own. Okay, next slide, please. So this is it. This is the device I've been describing. This is actually a 2.0 device. We had a 1.0 device, the one that I was describing, that we started like 5 years ago. We did a prototype and then a limited series of 1.0. And then after we've got enough, there was enough traction and there was enough uptake from the market, we decided to design a PlanetCare 2.0. Why? Because with the first version, we just needed to make do with whatever off-the-shelf components we could buy. So we bought off-the-shelf filtration components and we modified them in our shop, so to speak, workshop, and then we send it out to customers. And this was really expensive. But the process was also long, but also whatever we could find on the market from the parts was for filtering drinking water. And that means, you have high pressures, it needs to be sturdy, it cannot be from recycled plastic because it's food contact. So it was really not optimal. We just did it to show the extraction, and then we designed our own. So this device you're seeing and we're selling now, and the one we're producing now in quite some numbers, is actually completely our own design. It's made out of recycled plastic. We have thinner walls, so much less material, and it fits the purpose. So it's exactly designed for the purpose of filtering your wastewater, from your washing machine. We have, it says 10,000 users here. We've grown. I have to correct that one. So we have about 15,000 now. I wish it was more, of course, because still it's a drop in the ocean, so to speak. It really is. But like I said, our users are not just lowering their own environmental impact. They're not just preventing their own pollution from their machines, but they really are a part of community that is forging systemic change, because every installed filter is actually a step closer to systemic change, to where I want to be, and that is that every washing machine on the planet actually already has a filter in it. So that's my idea, that's my mission then, and then I'll stop, and hopefully it will be in my lifetime. Next slide, please. So this is the one I've been telling you about. We actually got awarded a European Innovation Council money. It's a very, very competitive process to get that. Only there's about 7,000 applicants every year, and only 4% get it. So we were very, very lucky to get it. And it also showed that we really, have a good product and a good business plan behind it. So what you see here is our integrated filter, the one that at the moment is patented, but it sits in our drawer and is waiting for regulation. So it's waiting that somebody's going to knock on our door again and say, hey, we want to put that in. For the moment, it does nothing. But it's different from any other solution out there, because it has two components, as you can see, the red and the green. We separate filtration, which is in that case self-cleaning, so the filter regenerates itself and you never need to touch it, and the storage unit, where the fibers are actually stored. So every time the filter spins, it decompresses and dries the fibers and sends them to the fiber storage unit. And you only deal with the fiber storage unit. And this is very important because of two reasons. When there will be regulation, you will have mainstream users using this machine. So not environmental enthusiasts, not people who care, who would, listen to this talk. And the rule number one will be easy maintenance, very user-friendly. They will go for the machine that will have a filter that will basically be, zero maintenance and zero work for them. And we've been able to design that because we can run 160 cycles with this integrated filter without you needing to do anything. And once you need to actually exchange the fiber filter bag, it's a really, really small bag that looks like a miniature vacuum cleaner bag, the ones we used to have. So really a clean and very speedy procedure. So this is our integrated filter. Next slide, please. And I would like to also mention our third product. We have only 3, so that's the last one, and that is our self-cleaning commercial filter. So this one uses the same technology as the one, that was meant to be integrated in the washing machine. So it's quite a sophisticated self-cleaning filter. You can see that the filter sits between 2 large machines. So in between, there's a box that's a stainless steel box, and on the photo, and that's actually that's a real life setup in a factory in Italy. And our filter sits in between those 2. So we realized there was really no offerings for commercial sized washers. We're talking 35 kilos onwards, or let's say from 20 kilos onwards. We're talking hotels, laundries, hospitals, but also largely textile factories. Because in the textile process, after cutting or after dyeing, after each process, you need to wash the fabric. And of course, at that point, especially after cutting, there's so much microfibers going into the waters. That's really insane amounts. And stopping that, of course, it's important impact-wise. So we've launched it last year. We now produce it in small batches, unfortunately. So, spread the word. We would really like to speed up the scaling with this one, because it's going to be, of course, it's quite a device, and it's going to be significantly cheaper if we can produce it in larger quantities. For now, we do it in batches of 20. Hopefully, we'll sell 100 this year, and that's that. Next slide, please. So, yeah, we were, okay, I'm just gonna say this. So we started 8 years ago. And when we started, we were really the only ones. So when you see all this earned media from CBS, CNN, Financial Times, Daily Mail, The Guardian, we were everywhere. Why? Because we were the first, and we were really interesting, of course, because nobody really knew what we were doing. And, the media likes the story, so they picked it up. So nowadays, we have far less earned media coverage than we did 8 years ago. But why is this important that we started early? I think it's really important we started early because filtration of your wastewater, it might seem trivial, but it really isn't. Filtration has been around, for thousands of years, but filtering your wastewater is really quite a challenge, and trying to be very efficient at the same time, because people wash all sorts of things. We, like it says here on the slide, and it's true, we have seen soiled carpets and reusable diapers. And, filtering needs to work even if you use reusable diapers. And this is really not so trivial as you would think. There's dirt, there's organic material, there's lots of hair, people have horses, kids bring. What's really important, there are some solutions that some competitors came long after we started. There are maybe a few years on the market, but we have seen such little thing being so important. There's the Samsung filter. We have tested them all, of course. And if your kid brings just a little bit of sand in his pockets and you wash it, it will break the mesh. So I'm just saying, I'm not trying to criticize other solutions. I'm just saying that you really have to do trial and error for a very long time. And you have to encounter all possible scenarios to come up with a filter that's able to withstand it. So when I'm saying we've built this market, it's really true because we were the first, but we've also failed a lot and gone up again. So next slide, please. Okay, so obviously we met sustainable goals number 3, 9, 11, and most importantly 14, I guess. But like I said, there's one health, there's one planet, everything is interconnected. I've listened to you talk about emergency scenarios and briefing and and the environmental issues. And I'm so happy, you're doing something about it, and the government obviously is doing something about it. But I always say that pollution really has no borders. And I love it how when the astronauts go out in space and they look at this fragile little planet before them, they all have this effect, how Earth is so small, fragile, no borders, and it really needs protection. I doubt I'll ever see it from that perspective, but I believe them. And I think especially with plastic pollution and especially with microplastic pollution that you don't see with your own eyes, that you can never retrieve from the environment again, never. Once it's gone, once it leaves your drain pipes or whatever, you can never actually get it back or clean the water again. So it's in that particular case, I feel it's so important. We would really need to have an international consensus and solutions and policies that would really go beyond borders. Because if we stay within one country or even within one continent, we're really not going to solve this problem. Well, not efficiently anyway. So maybe a word about the closed loop. So I have been talking about a commercial filter and an integrated filter. Those are active filters, right? They need electricity because they're self-cleaning. And the one I showed you at the beginning, the retrofitting one, it's a completely passive device. It requires no electricity. But of course, that's why it functions with cartridges, so with consumables. You put the cartridge in, and the cartridge would last you anywhere from 10 to 30 washes. It really so depends on your, washing habits, what you put in. Are they reusable diapers? Or, do you have lots of furry friends, long hair? It really depends on a lot of factors. So I try not to say exactly how many washes a cartridge will last, but our filter has an automatic bypass. So if you, let's say, wash a woolen carpet or a dog blanket, you can just pull up the bypass manually and the water will just bypass filter. So you will preserve the cartridge, but you will not damage the environment because those are natural fibers and you can do that. And then once the cartridge is full, the same bypass will pop up and you will see a red ring and indicated that your cartridge needs replacing. If you cannot do it at that very moment or you're out of cartridges or whatever, so the water will just bypass filter, but you should know once the red ring is up, you're no longer filtering. The machine will work fine, everything will run smoothly, but you're no longer filtering. And it's time to change the cartridge. So you just put, it's a minute job. You take one cartridge out, you put the next one in. And then once you have 12 cartridges, you're supposed to send them back to us at no cost to you. We provide you with a return label. Why? It's really killing us business-wise, as you might imagine, because we don't, it's a bit of a chicken and egg. We're not there yet. We should have local refurbishing centers in, let's say, in each country at least. But again, to make that feasible, economically feasible, we need a certain number of users in the country. So, we need to grow in order to be able to do it locally. For now, in Europe, from Europe and from UK. In UK, we actually do have a logistics partner who takes care of all our cartridges, and then we take them back in bulk. But in the rest of Europe, you ship it back to us, and we dry them, we store them, we wash them with our commercial filter, we reuse them, and we are currently exploring 3 options: either insulation panels. We did some chairs and some coffee tables. We did some furniture, and there's just a new project. We're actually trying to make canoes out of this plastic. Of course, everything is shredded, and then we'll see. If you're asking me if we already have the best possible solution, what to do with the fibers that were caught, the microplastic caught in the cartridges, no, I don't have the perfect solution. Like I said, we have many projects going, but we still have time, because for any really proper recycling, you need 1 ton, and we're not there yet. So for now, we're storing it, we're exploring. We're part of many projects. We're even exploring chemical recycling. Chemical recycling is really promising, and it comes up with a really good yarn, with a virgin quality yarn. But the problem with what comes out of washing machine is that you don't have just plastic. Like I said, there's a lot of dirt, there's a lot of organic material. So, but the industry of chemical recycling is actually advancing also really fast. And if, let's say, a year ago, you almost needed to have 90% virgin polyester in order to do chemical recycling. Now you can have contamination to up to 60%. We're still not quite there, but that's also one option I am very eager to pursue. Next slide, please. Okay, so where are we? The future is microplastics free. That's what we believe. So I'm sorry. I'm trying to have the filters integrated. Like I said, oh, I'm sorry. Can I just get a glass of water? I'll be right back. 30 seconds, not even.
No problem, Mojca. So if anybody's got questions, now's your time to type away in that chat. I see we've got a few.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry, something in my throat. I've been so passionately explaining. So where we want to go as a company and as let's say as a mission-based company. So we would like to see our solution that I really think it's really good to be integrated. Let's say at least with 1 brand or maybe a few brands of washing machines. What we also are exploring a solution for dryers, because I don't know how many of you use dryers, but you will see the amount of lint that you actually collect in your dryer after every wash. And that's about the same amount, of course, that goes in, into the waters, but you don't see it from your washing machine. Also, we are looking into real life inline impact tracking with our commercial devices, because this is going to be very interesting for ECG reporting. Because companies in big textile industry are going to want to report exactly what they're doing, and our commercial filters are smart. They have a mini computer inside, and we are able to monitor them and see exactly what they're doing and how much plastic is actually being caught. So we can do the impact tracking and calculation for them. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, so I think we're coming to the end of my talk finally. So this is us. This is our team of very devoted, lovely people who are really, honestly, truly there because they are driven by the same mission. So I obviously sit on the machine, and on the left and the right corner are my 2 co-founders. Without them, of course, this wouldn't be possible. As Roshi mentioned, I'm a corporate lawyer, so I wouldn't have the knowledge or the skills needed to get this going. So we have the chief scientist who's been in plastics and microplastic research for 30 years. And we have Micha on my left side, and he has a PhD in robotics and in mechanical engineering. So he's the brain behind our product. Next slide, please. Yeah, nothing to add to that, probably. So thank you. That's it.
Well, thank you very much, Mojca. That was very, very extensive. I really appreciate that.
Sorry.
No,
I never know with British people use this adjective.
No, I'm not being British and understating. But we have got some questions, and I'm sure there'll be more coming in now as we go along. Well, we started with what happens to the fibres that are caught by the filter, and I think we've answered that a bit. But I think it's very interesting to think about where they could be. So, if you were to guess, based on what you know now, Mojca, what do you think is the most likely route forward for, if you like, using the fibres in something useful going forward?
Well, the most straightforward solution that's available now is insulation panels. So we could do, whatever we have, they would use. Doing design furniture, we actually have an ocean chair that was awarded. It's it's a project, it's not really something I can say it's commercialized at this moment, but it's also interesting because it gives the new life, and it actually adds to the value. It's not just recycling; it's actually upcycling, which is really interesting. And just to answer that question, I think it's really important to because one, we intercept the fibers, right, or the microplastics. So yes, that's preventing them to enter the waters. It's really important. But the second step is equally important because you really you don't want them to get reintroduced, re-released into the environment. And often that would happen with solutions. So you would, it would fall into one end, and at the other end, it would go right where it shouldn't, because there's a filter that they use in Canada and the States, but they have been using it because the lint would clog their septic tanks, not because they would be environmentally, cautious. And after we did the campaign, and they started to also write, but it will also prevent microplastic and lint from going into the environment. Yes, that's true. But on their next video, they're showing how you're washing, under the sink, the filter. And yeah, well, obviously, if you wash it under the sink, it will go, right where it shouldn't. So I'm just saying you should use your brains and just see, what are you supposed to do with it? What are the solution provider, telling you to do with it once you've caught them? And we have let's say the guppy friend, the guppy bag, the microfiber bag. You zip let's say your polyester fleece in it, and then you wash it in it. Yeah, it's fine. But once you put that fleece out of the bag, all the fibers are on the floor, they're everywhere. It's impossible to wash that bag. Of course, people get frustrated and they again wash it, underwater. So I'm just saying, it's really important. Both steps are really important, and nobody has a perfect solution. We don't have the perfect solution either, but we will do everything, absolutely everything. And it goes against our business model at the moment, but not to re-release all these fibers and all that plastic again into the environment.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That was the point of my question. I could just imagine it's great to collect all the fibers, but then you've got to make sure they don't go straight round out into the environment again. So
exactly, or landfill. It's just, it's important.
Yeah.
So Catherine asks, when do you think the integrated filter is likely to be adopted by manufacturers? What sort of pressure do you think needs to build up in the market, or market acceptance needs to be there?
Yeah, good question. I think, well, obviously the problem now really gains the attention, and also regulators are involved. Like I said, even in UK, you were very, very close to passing such law or such provision. But then for some reason the government changed and now it's somewhere in the drawers. So I don't know exactly what will happen, but you are quite further down to regulating this, actually ahead of Europe. So I think just, talking to your MPs or just, writing to your representatives or bringing this issue up is something everyone can do. Even if you decide, not to install the solution, you can still spread awareness. You can, mention it at dinner tables. And I just, I think when people know we're enough, when the critical mass of people will know and, will scream and want to do something about it, and something will really move. That's how it usually happens. So in Europe, I think by the end of the year, we will have standardization. Then next year, we will have something that's called the Eco Directive. And the Eco Directive is the directive that usually regulates, how much water your machine consumes and how much electricity. And now they're going to add filters to that. And then there's going to be grace period of 3 to 4 years. So I would guess 5 years to 10 years, if you ask me, I thought 25 is going to do it. But now I think next 5 years, definitely not. And then I hope yes.
Okay, that makes sense. What weight of fibers is collected when you've got a full cartridge on your 2.0 cartridge?
That really depends. So, as I said, it's approximately a gram per wash, but that's extrapolated, of course, from all the data we have from the European households. It really depends on what you wash at home and what kind of fabrics you put in your machine. This is what will then be caught in the cartridge. So, some people might have cotton in the cartridge, 90% of it and 10% plastic. So it's very individual. It's very hard to say.
Okay. How can members of the public help speed up this process of regulation?
Talking to your representatives.
Yeah,
pushing for regulation, pushing for systemic change. Asking, when you decide to buy a new washing machine, just, out of curiosity, ask, do you have one with a filter? Why not? So, just stuff like that. It builds pressure, and I really, really believe that a group of committed individuals, citizens can it like Margaret Mead said, it's the only thing that ever changed anything. So I'm quite positive we can.
Okay. Eddie asked, if you have a big team and you've been running for 8 years now, how have you sustained the company so far, and are you breaking even yet? So he's obviously interested in getting shares.
Just we're just but yeah, most of the month, yeah, I would say we're just there, just now. So like I said, when we were starting and there was a lot of R&D in the first years, that was this European grant we got. It was in the amount of 2 million euros. So this is basically what sustained us, what also enabled us to really get excellent engineers and scientists on board and to come up with all these 3 solutions you see today. So R&D was basically financed, right? And then after that, now these days, we don't have any foreign investments so far, or any outside investment aside from the grant and the co-financing. So we've been talking to a few investors, but I am very old-fashioned, and they always say that your customer is your best investor. So we try to go down that road. Hopefully we will succeed.
I'd like to ask a question here since you mentioned the customer. When I was talking to you earlier, you mentioned all types of customers. So I'd love if you could tell us a little bit more about who are your main customers, and what sort of reasons are they doing it for?
Well, that's funny, because if you ask Facebook, he will give you a completely different customer than like a little bit of what Jane said with the statistics. So our customers are usually people 50 and above, highly educated. Uh, and we actually have a lot of grandparents getting the filters for themselves, but mostly for their kids. And the reason usually is, look, we have some money now. Our kids are so busy. They have no time to, research about the solution and deal with this, but they care. And, I care and they have kids and we have grandkids and we really need to do something about this. So, they go on and usually they buy 4 or 6 kits for the whole family. And then I would have, yeah, I mentioned to Rosie that sometimes I would have, then I get quite attached and we have long email exchanges and to some customers I really do know by name and I know everything that's going on in their families. But yeah, jokes aside, so really okay, over 50, yeah, but definitely over 35. So we do not have young people, which is kind of natural. So you need to be a homeowner. Usually, you need to have your machine. You need to have some income. You need to be engaged. So yeah, that's our customers. But
Yeah.
Facebook, Facebook would be showing this in front of 19 and 20-year-olds. And then we just decided to tell him to do better and to do our own metrics.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to put the next two questions kind of together because I think that they fit. One of the questions is at what price point would a standalone, what's the price point in tens of thousands per year if you were manufacturing? What would be the price point if you had lots? And another one, if a manufacturer chose to market a machine with a filter, how much more expensive? So I guess what the real question is,
How
assuming
expensive is the component?
how expensive will it be when you're on mass manufacturing for the manufacturer to put the original filter in, if you like?
Well, we wouldn't be doing that. So there would be a first-year supplier doing that. We would just license it probably. But yeah, we do have these calculations because we had projects going on with producers, and I would say 10 to 15 euro would be the price of a component that a washing machine company would need to pay to build this in on scale, at scale, sorry, at scale. I don't know if that would then mean that the whole machine would be 30 euros more expensive. I don't know if they would absorb it. I can't tell you that because that's their own logic, but the component's really not that expensive. It's not something that should prevent them from putting it in. So it's feasible, it's doable. We have good solutions, not just ours, there's others. And it doesn't cost so much as to say, it breaks the economics. It doesn't.
Mm. Okay, that's great. Can I pop in two more little questions? Um, One was, how does the self-cleaning, so you've got the self-cleaning filter, and you mentioned that the commercial ones are connected up to electricity. So how does the self-cleaning happen? Is it some sort of pressure that, reverse pressure, or I was just intrigued how you cleaned the filter self.
It's actually it's backflush and a water cyclone.
Uh-huh.
It's that's exactly the patented mechanism. It's happening inside out, so it's a bit different than with the other solutions. And the point is, there's no scraping and
Mm.
no physical touch, which is really important because the filter then doesn't wear out. The rest of the solution usually have some sort of scraper, and this is really not optimal because it would only last a few months.
Yeah. And then I think really the most important question of the night, why did you choose turquoise and beige as the colors?
Um, no idea. We uh, really no idea. It wasn't me actually. It was my dear friend and colleague here, and she has a long and rich career in marketing and in branding. And yeah, well, she basically came up with the name, the colors, the images, everything.
Okay, one last question, Eddie. wants to know, how do we buy one? That's a good question to end on. How do we buy one?
You just go to planetcare.org. There's a shop right in front of you. You click shop and that's it. If you're very confident you're going to do it, you can get the larger pack, which will provide you with 12 cartridges. If you're not so sure and you would like to try it, there's the mini starter try kit with 3 cartridges that will approximately last you 2 months, something like that.
Okay.
And okay, a little bit of a heads up. Sometimes when you use the cartridge and you need to exchange it, obviously the cartridge would be wet. And sometimes it also smells. I swear to you, it never smells at my house, which is probably due to the fact that I wash a lot of, due to kids and the animals, I wash a lot of my linen at a high temperature, so 90, and that sort of disinfects the filter. But we do have people from the States complaining about the smell because they usually just use cold water to wash. And of course, with cold water, all sorts of organisms built up in your machine and in filter. And sometimes, yes, it smells when you change it. So I don't know. I'm just telling you straight up that it might happen. I'm being very honest about it.
Full and frank disclosure.
Yeah.
So that's that. I don't have any other. It's a bit of work. The setup is really simple. It should take you 10 minutes. You need no plumber. It's really straightforward. The exchange of the cartridge is really also simple. The only thing that people have come up with is sometimes they smell.
Okay, so run your washing machine at 90 every now and again.
You should anyway, because I've been sitting in R&Ds and pre-development of this washing machine producer so much, and they all do because they tell us that you don't want to know what builds up in your washing machine if you don't.
Okay.
If you don't what? Just run it at a high temperature once in a while,
Yeah,
I mean.
once in a while, exactly, to kill everything.
No, I can believe it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually feel very, very privileged to have heard direct from somebody who is a really, really serious entrepreneur, really doing useful stuff, groundbreaking stuff. I thank you so much. I think that's been really, really useful, and I hope you get some business from
Thank you.
from the people on this call, from their friends, whatever. I really think, I'm definitely going to be talking to people about it, and I hope everybody else will as well. That, something we simply didn't know about before. So thank you very much.
Exactly. I think just by spreading the awareness, things will change, really. It's just that people didn't know about the problem. That's why we don't have it regulated yet.
Catherine, quick question.
A very quick one, because I've just seen Eddie's question there, which would apply to me. Excuse me. How far away? I can't get a filter right by my machine. It's in a cupboard. So I don't really know where I'm going to put this filter. That's my problem. So how far away can it be?
It can be 1.5 meters away, and I have it in a cupboard too. I just have it in a cupboard next to the machine because I have a built-in machine, so I have the same situation. If you go to our website, and it has installation options, and if you click on it, you'll see different pictures actually of also of UK setups of how people did it, and if everything fails, just take a photo of your setup, mail it to me, and I'll find the perfect solution for your filter.
Great, thank you.
Well, there's a promise for you.
I told you I like speaking with my customers. I actually enjoy doing that.
Okay, I'll let Jane bring us to a close.
Well, just to say many, many thanks. And I will definitely be reporting on what you've said in our next newsletter and putting information about how people should get hold of it. But as you say, also, I think the other thing we need to do is to just publicize the fact that this is a possibility. Talk to everybody about it. Tell people, and when you're going to buy a new washing machine, I think that's a brilliant idea. Excuse me, do you have a washing machine with a microplastics filter? What? You don't?
Exactly.
Well,
outrageous.
Why not?
Yeah. Well,
Is
thank
it-
you, James. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you for doing this important work, and thank you for having me. And I am happy for any follow-up questions, explanations. My mail should be, wherever on your. I'm very happy to connect with everyone that would like to connect with me.
Well, thank you enormously, Mojca, and you really have done a stunning talk, and we
Yeah.
appreciate it very much.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks, Micah.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
Bye-bye.
thank you, everybody.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Remember, microfilter fibres for Christmas.
Well done.
What to get the children that have everything.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the list.
Right. Yeah.
No, it was very good.
Yeah, she's a lively lady. Wow.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's hope that certainly inspired me that I must look hard at how to do this.
Will do. Good to be with you. And
Yeah, good to see you, Kate.
Good
Good night, all.
Good night.
Thanks. Yeah, Eke, I hope it was useful.
It was very useful. I'm thinking how I can get it into the student homes of my daughters, but that might not work.
Yeah.
We will see.
But it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, with all these things, the more we just talk about them and tell people that they're there and sort of make them feel, well, you should have one, every little bit counts.
Yeah.
It's the last talk we had was about tipping points, and it's a bit the same thing, if more and more people start being aware of this and taking it for granted that people should have filters, little by little, it'll get to the point where the manufacturers are having enough pressure put on them that they will, have a super green eco brand or something like that in their list of washing machines that has one, and then I'll see how it sells, because it's not going to make it much more expensive. Extraordinary.
It isn't.
Yeah.
What do you pay for a washing machine? 300 quid, something like that. This is nothing.
Yeah.
I think it sells as well.
Yeah.
I'm
The
sure
first
it would.
clean washing machine. I mean, that sells, doesn't it?
Definitely. I'm actually surprised.
Especially if you're first.
The manufacturers are all just waiting to see what's going to happen to the other ones. I don't see why it has to wait for regulation, really. You'd think somebody would. They're all looking for ways to be different. Anyway,
we will do our best.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, good.
Very nice to see you.
Hope we see you again.
Thank you
Bye.
very much. I enjoyed it. It was very interesting. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.